that is fun in the beginning. Anyway, Donnie here, Wednesday afternoon, Innovation Fika, 2:30 p.m. Every Wednesday, I go live with some cool tech, cool people, or whatever it could be, usually a kinder egg of people, tech, and ideas. And for me to say to you, just follow me on LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Clubhouse for your weekly and daily fix of entrepreneurship, inspiration, innovation, startups, and whatever it could be. And subscribe to my newsletter. Go to innovationfika.com, innovationfika.com, and subscribe to my newsletter. There, that's all about me. Now I'm going to start the actual show today, and I will now actually ask Marie Trogstam to come on board. I have her backstage, and here she comes. Hello, Marie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm happier to have you here than you are happy to be here. So, no, it's great. I'm just joking, but it's great to have you here. There, Marie Trogstam, Head of Sustainability in, is it AFRY or AFRY, or how do you pronounce it?
It's AFRY, actually.
AFRY, indeed. It's AFRY. And of course, we this older Swedes still like to say Ungpanneföreningen, which is, the oldest company in Sweden that is part of AFRY.
Yeah, it's a great legacy. Yeah.
So anyway, so no offense to my mispronunciation of the name there. It's kind of, when did it become AFRY?
It was actually in November 2019 when ÅF, the former Ungpanneföreningen, and Pöyry joined forces.
2019. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Marie, you are head of sustainability of a very, very big company. How big is AFRY today?
It's a little bit more than 16,000 employees, and we have offices in 40 countries and projects in actually hundreds. So we're kind of global in that sense.
So you're not quite a startup.
No, we are not. but still focusing on what sustainability means for us then.
Yeah. And yes, of course, and sustainability. I mean, this week, and all of my weeks that I do content, I mean, I do 5 posts every week, Monday to Friday, and then I have an Innovation Fika every Wednesday, and I have a theme every week. And this week's theme is sustainability. And that's why, the perfect timing to have you on board here as well. But then, okay, sustainability. But what does it actually mean? I mean, I work with startups on a daily basis, and then we talk about, sustainability for our startups. And, but I mean, okay, so I say, hey, startup, you should go for this goal. But here you're sitting here with 16,000 something employees in 100 countries. How do you, what's the challenges for you when it comes to, sustainability? The questions about that.
Yeah, indeed, it is a challenge, but in the same time, it's also a great opportunity. And as every organization or company needs to start off defining how this could be part of your core business. And for AFRY, we have then decided on an updated mission. So the corporate mission is actually about accelerating the transition towards a sustainable society and also to provide sustainable solutions to drive impact and growth. So, of course, with these experts within areas such as clean energy, infrastructure, and other parts where you could really see where the transition needs to happen. Of course, most of my colleagues want to move faster, but that is still a great challenge, I would say.
Yeah. But do you work with sustainability as, many startups, they sit down and they do the assessment that they go through the 17 UN development goals, and then they look at the 169 sub goals. I mean, do you do that as well? Do you do assessments and actually go through the goals and say, what can we fix and what can we work with?
Yes, we do. And we are really keen on addressing that you need to look into sustainability from this holistic view that actually the 2030 agenda provides. And also recognizing that in case you want to fulfill one of them, there might be a conflict in some of the other goals. And as you say, the sub-targets. So actually, I think you need to do what you are saying to scale up companies to do. And we have now for this coming annual and sustainability report decided to focus on our so-called transforming segment where we can have the biggest impact. That's where we are then mapping specifically towards the SDGs, as you say.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, okay, I'm coming back to the big company thing again, because I mean, again, as an agile small startup, it might be one thing, and you do have a kind of a small footprint. And I'm not saying that you have big feet. I'm not, don't, but you're kind of a bigger thing, that's what I mean. Not only how, because the one of my posts today on LinkedIn on sustainability was actually about, if it's not only about doing things good, but it's also about avoiding doing things bad. So, I mean, how much do you put into not doing too much bad things as such a big company? Because, I mean, you could impact both positively and negatively with 16,000 people.
Yeah, and that's exactly to the spot you're making now, because we need to, of course, address the whole value chain. But in our case, being an engineering advisor and that type of company, our biggest impact is downstream through the solutions we provide to our clients. And we, of course, have a negative impact also there. But we say we need to find our net positive impact, minimizing the footprint. As you say, we do have big feet, but the majority of our contribution is the handprint, where we could actually positively contribute through our solutions. But it's for every company, you need to address that. Where in this value chain is it that you actually have your biggest impact, and then
Yeah.
increase the net positive one?
I mean, do you ever find I mean, okay, so you're talking about your clients that you work with and the people you work with and the solutions you help build. But that's sort of also, do you ever feel, I mean, as responsible for sustainability, do you ever feel the risk is that sort of, you project everything on the solution you're working with and might sort of turn a blind eye to what you're sort of might be doing yourself? I mean, if you understand what I mean.
And that's also a very important question. And that's why within AFRY, we said that our sustainability framework need to address three parts. The first one being exactly what you're on to, it's to walk the talk. We need to lead by example ourselves in order to cut our own CO2 emissions in half, for example, until 2030, and to make sure that we continuously work with inclusion and diversity and have the highest ethical standards, etc. So that's key in order then for actually being in terms of transforming our company at large, in terms of the solutions. It needs to come together. So that's really true.
Okay. Okay then, but I mean, okay. So what is a normal day look like for an employee? I mean, I work at this huge, super sustainable company. I mean, how do I see that as a employee, sort of, or a colleague of yours? Do I notice that?
I mean, as I mentioned, we have operations in so many different countries, and also not. I mean, it's also different within a country if you are based more on the countryside or in an urban environment, but then also if you are focusing in with our segment of clean energy, or if it's maybe food and life science. So the day will, of course, look a bit different depending on what sector you are working in, if it's up north Sweden or if it's in Southeast Asia. So I guess it's, I mean, it's the advisory part of our work, the engineering part. That's probably the same prerequisites, but conditions and the challenges, I would say, the challenges that we are trying to solve are of course different. But we've said that we're going to use our experience and knowledge from a Nordic context to actually support in the acceleration also in other parts of the world.
Yeah. I know. I mean, that. I mean, you recently won an award for sustainable entrepreneurship from a foundation that I happen to know a lot about as well. Entrepreneurs Without Borders actually awarded your company the 2020 award for sustainable entrepreneurship. And I mean, how do you see on the questions of entrepreneurship, and how do you see yourselves as entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs maybe being, I mean, such a big company? How do you sort of address issues of your own empowering people and enabling people's sort of initiative?
Yeah, first of all, it really meant a lot for AFRY to be recognized by Entrepreneurs Without Borders, because as you say, and I also know from the nomination process that you usually don't, choose a big company. So for us, it's a great award. And the challenge is to reach a more sustainable society, as I mentioned, are so complex. So you need to have an entrepreneurial mindset. You need to try and then try again and be transparent about your lessons learned. So even though it's more of an entrepreneurship, when you're working within a big company. We are striving to cooperate with different types of actors, and we could speak about some of our partnerships also, where we actually seek out how can we use tech and digitalization, and a lot of that competence is of course to be found within scale up companies. So I mean, it's key. So I think we both have that mindset internally, but we also seek out partners that drive entrepreneurship.
Uh, yeah, because I heard that I read, and then you told me afterwards, but I read that you'd recently partnered up with Norrsken, the big social oriented incubator, not an incubator, but co-working space here in Stockholm. What's your hopes in that collaboration?
I mean, we are really, really happy about that partnership, as I mentioned, just together with Norrsken to use their also areas of tech and the entrepreneurial mindset together with our competence and also presence around the world. We have a specific focus initially on food and food tech, since food and life science is one of our four core transforming segments. But I think I mean, there's a lot of exchange to expect from mentoring, for example, from both ways. So it's really, really cool for us to now be a partner to Norrsken in that sense.
We had a question come here from Kate. How can people and communities better support businesses like if you're in sustainability? And I mean that also comes into the partnership you have with Norrsken. I mean, do you sort of look for partnerships? Are you open for partnerships in other communities and other ways as well?
As of now, we've decided to focus our partnerships on some specific areas, and in order to actually reach and manage the challenges that lies ahead of us, we have said that science and facts will be key moving forward. And then we've been partnering up with the Gapminder Foundation in order then to jointly work towards systematic misconception in terms of then the general state of the world. And for example, we've been supporting them in developing their test for the SDGs. So it's really, really encouraging to see how they drive this work, but also the lack of knowledge. So there's still a lot to do in the general level of understanding those complex challenges we have. So
Yeah.
Gapminder is one partnership, and then Norrsken, and then we also have one within the climate action, the 1.5-degree business playbook. So as of now, we've said we're going to focus on those areas and then jointly then try to drive the transition in some parts.
Cool, thank you. Another question from Ali. Hi, Ali, as well. Should sustainability be a focus from the start, or should a startup focus on that later on in their development? I mean, and I think that for every project that you start could be considered as a startup as well. I mean, and the same kind of a starting of a project. So what do you say about that? Start off with it or add it later on?
For me, it's really easy. Have the opportunity to make it right from the beginning. You don't need to have all the answers, but as of my view, I believe and see that many scale-up companies actually do address some of the society's challenges. So I mean, the core business, as I see it, is usually kind of pinpointing some of the challenges. So per se, you are addressing some of the challenges, but then of course that's more the what, the business model, but then the how. If you're entering also markets with challenges, you need of course make sure to comply with rules and regulations. And but I mean, that was so cool with scale up companies, take the chance and address one of those many challenges from the very beginning, I would say.
Yeah, do it right from the start. Wonderful, thank you. Magdalena, welcome in, Magdalena, as well. What's your best advice to give young people who want to work in sustainability?
And that's a really key question. And of course, as an employer, we know that we need to be in the forefront, not only to attract our clients, our investors, but also young people. And as a company which I'm representing, our key asset is, of course, our people. So as a young student, or if you're looking, you should of course require that company to have a high profile in this area, and that's one of the reasons why AFRY is also pushing this, and with one emphasis also on inclusion and diversity, because in order to solve those complex challenges that lies ahead of us, we need to have a mixture of diverse both competencies and backgrounds. So, I mean, you should really select a company that is, I mean, true and honest and does this for real. I think you should challenge your future employer in that way.
Yeah, and that's start by studying at KTH, and and then and then of course you. Yeah, but that's a very very good answer. You know, challenge your future employer, or if you want to. I mean, if you're starting something yourself, do it. Make sure that you become an employer that people want to work at. Again, I mean that's the same as you said. Do it right from the start. Thank you for comment here. That's such a beautiful answer you had from the other answer. So thank you very much for that. And wonderful. Thank you, Magdalena. Thank you for asking the question. Wonderful. Keep the questions going. We have another 5-10 minutes to go here. Boy, I saw my questions as well. You talked about the partnerships. You talked about the what you're doing with AFRY. What was it? I mean, okay, so if you look around and you sort of have, let's say you have a conference, and you're at a conference and you have all of these other big companies around you, sort of, what do you say? What do you say to them when it comes to a big company saying, yeah, but we're too big, or we're too established to, or what do you say to a company of your size?
I would say when I started working in these areas like more than 10 years ago, it was a bit different. But now, for example, with a big portion of the the executive management of AFRY, I attended the big climate change conference COP25 in Madrid end of 2019 before the pandemic started. And we joined forces there with big companies such as Ericsson, Scania, Ragn-Sells, ABB, and others. But not only with the companies, but also with, for example, the former Minister for Development Cooperation, Peter Eriksson. He was also there. We have, for example, WWF. So I never hear anyone saying that you're too big or I mean, it's really a change of culture here now that everybody wants to be, at least the mature companies and the ones that are in the forefront, they want to join forces with other forefront companies. So it's really a race to the top in that sense. You want to be there. So it's huge difference just in a few years now. So I never sense any closed doors. It's more like join. So that's a very, very nice feeling within the business community, speaking
Well, I
with
mean,
large companies.
and I think that I read as well, and I've heard, the big shift now when it comes to the big investors, the big money is it's moving away from like fossil. I know that one of the bigger investment families in Sweden were saying to the big companies that are listed in the Swedish industry, saying that if you're not working with sustainability, you're doing something wrong. So there's a big shift happening. So I'm really happy to see it, even though it's too slow. I know that both you and me feel a bit frustrated over we would want it to happen faster, but as long as it's happening, there's a momentum at least. Coming towards the end here, I know that you have we've started something with I'm always have my guests say give me 3 tips what to do and how to do it, and of course to end off this session with you as well, we have Marie's top 3 tips for working with sustainability, getting started with it or working with it, or that. So what are the top 3 tips from Marie Trogstam, Head of Sustainability at AFRY? Number 1 is
to be brave, and that's really crucial because we are facing so complex challenges now, so we need to try and try again. So be brave and be transparent about that as well.
oops, sorry. I'll come back to that question right away. Sorry. Number 2 is
Yeah, if you're about to be brave, of course you need to base your decisions on facts and science, and that's, I mean, it's available. So we just need to bring it up front with a 1.5-degree target, etc. So base your brave decisions on facts. And the third one is to partner up. We should do this together with others and join forces between public, private, and civil society, the different sectors to join forces.
Thank you. That's really 3 good tips. And as I said, being an engineer and working at KTH, the whole based on facts thing, I love that. Of course, Gapminder, wonderful organization. I think they've done and are doing some incredible work when it comes to based on the whole factfulness thing as well. And of course, be brave. You have to actually dare take a step out and say we need to do this. And then actually, I think that. I will now, giving AFRY here a compliment. I actually think it's kind of, it's not kind of, it's very brave that you as such a large company. I mean, if you go to the website, the first thing you see is we're going all in on sustainability, and I think that's a very sort of brave statement to make, and I think it's worth applauding as well. So we're getting some more things here. Thank you. Amazing tips. Completely agree with them. Thank you very much. Wonderful. And we had a question here. The one that I mistakenly put up as well was, what's one thing you think the companies and the business community might need to work on when it comes to sustainability? Building on what Donny just said. That was when I talked about the big companies. But I think that's probably maybe what you, yeah.
I think I could add, and that's really, we are looking for the silver bullet in terms of measuring, because we all know what is measured. No, what is measured, it gets done. That's the key. So all companies are now struggling to find the proper way. Should you measure your impact on an aggregated level, or maybe, for example, within your high impact areas? And we've said, for example, that we will support our clients in paper in the pulp mill industry to reduce their water consumption with at least 20% in all the assignments. So how should we measure our impact? That's something we need to jointly work out, I would say.
Yeah. And do you feel there is tech and data and measurements out there that just need to put into use, or do we need to come up with new things as well?
Yeah, that's still the question. It's probably there, but we need to find the great way of doing it. And the EU taxonomy might bring something into it, finding at least some common ground on what is sustainable. But I think it's still a work to be done. How could we use AI, for example? Digitalization will be key for this exponential development. So there is still, I would say, work to be done also concerning data.
Beryl from YouTube here. Do you measure your social impact? And then I don't know if she means as your company or as the solutions you do. But we talked a bit about, you mentioned it there. But do you always try and measure the projects that you work with?
Yeah. For example, in terms of the social part, when we are planning like the future cities, we include like the child perspective and the gender perspective also in terms of roads, traffic safety, etc. But I would say that the challenge a bit more hard on the social part, health, and that part OHS is of course easier, and also the ethics and compliance that we make sure to always address that. But in terms of, for example, the EU taxonomy, they are still discussing if they should also have a social taxonomy. So all the expertise in that area is welcome, because it's probably lagging a bit on that measurement side of what is social impact. So a hugely important area, but still a bit to arrange there.
And I'm actually really glad you said that as well, because usually when I speak to companies about sustainability, it sounds like everything is already fixed, and it's all, and people are saying, well, we're already doing that. We know that. But I mean, it's just refreshing to hear you say as well that we still have things left to do. We still have things left to learn, and we still need to work with it to make it work. So I mean, again, I appreciate that. Don't forget Marie's top 3 tips: be brave, base it on facts, partner up. With that, I will thank you so very much for being a part of my coffee break this Wednesday afternoon. Thank you, Marie Trogstam.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
And thank you, all of the viewers. Keep the comments going in the event feed. Connect with me, connect with Marie. This whole week is about sustainability. And have a great day and a great week. And I'll see you all online. Take care. And thanks again, Marie. Thank you.
Thank you.